Now here's somewhere just a little bit different, but it's somewhere that I've wanted to visit and have a look in for years, ever since I first knew it was here about 30 years ago. Back then though, this train line was still operating, as the former Bevercoats pit was still open. However, both railway line and Bevercoats colliery are long since a thing of the past. So today is the day that I'm going to go into Boughton Tunnel. I'm quite looking forward to this, so cue the intro. Well, over the last few months I've visited a number of unusual locations, but this probably tops the lot so far. As you may have gathered, this is quite a long tunnel, probably one of the easiest of the long tunnels in Nottinghamshire to access. I'm just outside Boughton. Boughton Break is just over to my left shoulder, and that's an area of woodland just outside the village of Boughton near New Ollerton. My purpose is to achieve an ambition. I've always wanted to walk through this track. It's long since disused, and I'm hoping to get to the other end, maybe find a few invertebrates along the way. It's quite high, but there should be some hibernating butterflies, probably peacock butterflies most likely, but maybe herald moth. It'd be nice to find either species, to be honest, and even nicer to find them within filming distance or filming height. So I'm going to head towards the light. Now at various points as you walk through this tunnel here at Boughton, there are these little alcoves almost, but they're sort of safe places. If you was a railway worker back in the day when this was an active line, you could get in here, and the various other ones are out of the way of the train as the train came through. And instead of railway workers using these little alcoves now, it appears to be butterflies. And in this one, there's 7 or 8 peacock butterflies already. And here's 5 of them. There's a couple on the top right of that archway there, and further round to the left there's another 3. Peacocks typically overwinter in groups like this. There's another one further down, and there's one that is opening its wings on being disturbed by the light. But it's a nice, pleasant find. Not unexpected. What there is here, lots of mosquitoes of some particular species. Might be time to take a specimen. And here a sign of things to come in a few months' time. This is typically what peacock butterflies do on being disturbed, and they'll emit a sound by the wings being rubbed together. Sometimes it's really quite easily audible. This one's very quiet, but what a lovely splash of colour in an old dark railway tunnel. And here's one of those peacocks. This is a single one on the wall. We just had to count up, and there's actually 7 in this particular recess. Lots of mosquitoes here as well. Hibernation is an astounding thing, really. Once the temperature gets high enough, and these butterflies will become active. And this particular tunnel provides the right conditions. It's very dry, and these recesses, I think, are where all the butterflies are going to be, and I think I'm going to find quite a few of these, maybe small tortoiseshell as well. So we'll carry along, see what else we can find here. Well, on the next alcove up on the opposite side, we've got 2 peacock woodflies, one further down and that one up there, but that group of 3 moths on the top of the screen there are 3 herald moths. Herald moths are absolutely beautiful. I'll see if I can get closer to film, but they are higher up. You may well notice an interesting looking spider there, and I'll tell you what that is shortly, because there's one that's more accessible lower down. So 3 herald moths and now a total of 9 peacocks. Now that might be about the best that I can get these beautiful moths, herald moths. And if I was to guess here, I think these may well be 2 males and a female one in the centre. It's hard to tell, but the one in the centre does seem to be slightly larger. But they are absolutely cracking moths, hibernate as adults. Quite a common moth, but not at light. I've not had many records of this species at light, but like peacocks, they tend to hibernate in caves and railway tunnels such as this. Lovely. Both species that I'd hoped for are found, and I'm not yet 50 metres in. Now here's another nice find. There's relatively few records of this species across Nottinghamshire, maybe for the reason that it prefers dark sites such as railway tunnels, just inside of rabbit burrows, and you can see this one is active. In fact, when I first found her, she was sat in the old web that she'd created. This is Metalina Marianne, and they can be quite colourful. Very similar, and indeed in the same family as cave spiders, but this is considerably smaller, although it's a decent size, pretty much about the size of your garden cross spider that you'll get in your garden. So, not an unexpected species. Just a shame this one's not a touch more colourful. This one's a female, the one that I showed you with the heralds earlier on is a male. So, there's plenty to be found in tunnels. You just need to go out your way and look for them, but this is another nice record. Here again in this alcove, there's 2 herald moths just to the left of the arch, about a brick or half a brick in from the back wall, and then at the top of the screen, I don't know whether you can make them all out, but there's another 3 that are scattered about 6 inches apart from each other. So that brings the total to 8. So we've got 8 peacocks and 8 herald moths by my reckoning. And here is herald moth. This is the one on the side of the wall, the only one that has been in such a situation since I've come in here. I think I'm on to 18 now, but I'm sure you're all counting along with me at home. But you can see now what a beautiful moth this is. It really is a stonking species. Those beautiful orange markings and the 2 sort of tram lines across the forewings, and then that beautifully scalloped edge to the wing. It really is the most attractive moth. The caterpillar is just green, ordinary and nondescript, and you can find them often in loose groups on the growing tips of young sallows, but I haven't seen them for a while actually. But this is by far the most herald moths I've seen in one go. I'm lucky if I get one to MV light a year. So making the most of this opportunity. Beautiful moth though, isn't it? Well, just a bit further up, still not halfway yet, and there's another 8 herald moths here. And there's one actually on the side of this alcove, and I've got a second single one, and then there's a group of 5, tight group of 5 there for another single there. I think that's 18 so far, which is quite astounding. I was hoping for 1 if I was lucky. Fabulous. No peacocks in here. Peacocks don't seem to come in this far, a certain distance away from the light and the tunnel entrance. Maybe in the last 1 or 2 alcoves as we'll get towards the other end, we'll probably find peacocks again. Well, there's another 5 peacock butterflies here to add to the ever-growing total. Got one more alcove to check, and if it's the same as at the other end of the tunnel, there won't be anything in that first alcove. Obvious that the butterflies come so far in, and before it gets totally dark, they find somewhere to roost, and these alcoves are the perfect spot. Well, there was nothing in that final recess or alcove, so the distribution of insects here is very interesting, and it mirrors either end. Greatest concentration of herald moths are towards the centre in the darker areas of the tunnel, with peacock butterflies being found where it starts to become really dark, and that's from the second recess in. What I'll do, I'll measure it out as I walk back, but that's looking where I'm not going. But you can see how all this was carved out, and the main part of this tunnel is actually sandstone walls. It's just the entrance that are brick lined, and fairly recently brick lined in some cases. You can walk all the way quite easily towards Ollerton and Boughton. It is becoming increasingly overgrown with bramble, so it's gradually becoming harder, but it's worth trying to get down here, because just to walk with these almost cliff-like sandstone walls, it's quite something. No doubt at some time this will all go, or at least be covered in bramble. So there's only one thing to do now, that's walk back. Well, that was some adventure and lovely surprise as well. I was hoping for maybe 1 or 2 herald moths, but not 50. But the interesting thing was the distribution of both peacock butterflies and herald moths along the length of this tunnel. It mirrors at either end after the second alcove. That's when you start to get your peacocks, and they were found between the second, third and fourth alcoves. After that, it was all heralds until the second, third and fourth alcoves from the end, right in the distance there, that little dot. So I've been towards the light and come back, and what a great journey it was. I've loved that. It's nice to do something different, and this Boughton tunnel is certainly different.